Okay, I believe it is recording now. So I can't see myself. Kind of weird. But anyway, y'all have to let me know if for some reason you can't see. This is all a new thing to me. But we're going to start with a screen share. And then I've got a PowerPoint that I want you to see. Somehow I got to get it wider. Uh-oh. Sorry about that. Let me figure that out. Let's see. That's minimizing it. This would be maximizing it. Okay. And then I got to get up here. Okay. Cards for calls. There you go. Cards for calls. And I'm Janice Stokes-Nauman. And part of Cards for Calls, the reason that I've figured out how to do it, it's an easy way to get big numbers. And this is kind of how it works. You've got 4 different boxes of cards, and what you do is you sell those boxes of cards. $30 for $30, which works out to be $1 a card. And, okay, and I'm going to minimize this for a second. I want to show off some of the cards just in case we have somebody that's brand new that hasn't seen this. Now, I can't see myself in here. I can't see if y'all can see the cards or not. Can y'all see the cards?
No. Hold it up a little bit more.
Stop screen share, maybe. Do I have to stop it? Screen share.
If you hold them right in front of your face, we can see them really well.
All right. I can't see what I'm showing off. That's the weird part about it. But
there you go.
Cards, they look almost like $4 Hallmark cards, and they can be, sold for almost $1 a piece. They're just amazing. These that I'm showing off are the thanks and blanks. If you haven't seen these, they're just incredible. Here's the cat one. A moo cow one, different things like that. They're just really, really neat. So that is the thanks and blanks. There's also the kids cards, which is a kids birthday cards really, really quickly. I'll grab one out here. They look like this. So just so that you see that. And then we also have 2 all occasion boxes. Look like. So that those are your 4 choices. And now I'm going to go back to screen share real quick and go back to my PowerPoint thing. Okay, why do Cards for Calls? The pros for Cards for Calls. If you have background noise, if you can mute yourself for a few minutes, that would be good. Okay, so that everybody can hear this. One of the things that I have found that's really neat about Cards for Calls, especially if you're an EC, and you need big numbers, like to make a trip or something like that, and you need really quick numbers, it's an easy way to get really big numbers because the organization itself can do a purchase order. And when they do a purchase order, as soon as that purchase order gets approved and shipped, you get credit automatically. So if you're an EC, that's a really, really neat way to get big numbers right away. It doesn't take a lot of time. So like right now, currently in January and February, I'm in one of those customer service time periods where I'm really trying to call my customers. I'm really trying to do customer service, and that's taking a lot of time. And I haven't gotten a lot of bookings yet that have happened, stuff like that. I'm in one of those building stages. But the neat thing about Cards for Calls is it works without you. So my sales are still up there. I still made money, but it's working in the background. The other thing is it's another way to get into a school. For example, maybe they're not interested in a book fair, but maybe they would do Cards for Calls. So you go in and you build that Cards for Calls with them, and you let them, and they get to know you, and you build that relationship with them, and then all of a sudden, guess what? You get to fair with them. When you weren't able to get in that way, otherwise. For example, with Scholastic, with Scholastic, maybe they do a book fair with Scholastic every year, and because they do a book fair with Scholastic every year, then you can't get in, supposedly. Well, once they build that relationship with you through Cards for Calls, then do that. The other thing, somebody background noise, and if you could mute, I don't know who you are, but if you could mute, that'd be real helpful.
Hey, Janice, as the host, you should be able to manage the guests. If you look
Okay.
down at the bottom where it says participants and like manage them or something,
Okay. Well,
and you should be able to mute us all.
okay. Let me see if I can figure out how to do that real quick, and then I'll go back. I can't screen share and mute. I can't. Okay, manage participants. Okay. I think. Okay. Let's see. All right. Okay, Kathy, maybe that will work. All right.
Yep, that worked. I see we're all muted now.
Okay. All right. So if you want to say something to me, chat with me, and maybe I'll see that. And then we could go from there. Okay.
We can't see, when you do screen sharing, we haven't been able to see your slides if you've got stuff you're showing on your screen.
You can't see, you're not seeing the PowerPoint?
Nope.
Huh. Wonder why. I wonder why. Because it says, I'm going to screen share. Do I have to do this way? Maybe click desktop.
Oh, there we go.
Aha. And then, see, this is all a learning curve for me. Now, y'all can see.
There we go. Now we see it.
Yay! Because I'm a big visual. So you have to understand that I'm not at all auditory. So I put this little thing together for you so that you could understand. So right here is where I was when you see that you're building a relationship. Sometimes your only way to get in to the school might be Cards for a Cause. Or you might get in with a book fair, like I've done a book fair with lots of schools, but then I get to do Cards for a Cause with them later because I've already built that relationship with them. So that's the other reason I love Cards for a Cause. Literacy for a Lifetime. I kind of want to explain this a little bit because you can do a combination for an organization or a school that really needs books. They can take the money that they raise from Cards for a Cause, and then we can match it 50%, just like we do a Literacy for a Lifetime. So for example, I have an organization and I just figured this out. For every box of cards that we sell for $30, with the Literacy for Life matching grant program, when we get at least $250 in sales, it's $30 in book. I mean, it's $20 in books for every box of cards sold. Make sense? So that's kind of cool. So you just kind of have to understand that a little bit when you put the money in. The cons, and I went ahead and talked a little bit about the cons, is that you only make 10%, so you don't make a huge amount of cash. But again, this is working without you. And the numbers are big, but it's working without you having to actually be there because they're doing all the work. You're not. So it's kind of like plastic in a way. Okay, and then the recruit potentials. You may not meet a lot of people. So it's not like your business, if you're really wanting to promote, this is not, I mean, it could be something to give you the numbers, but it's not going to give you the recruits. So just so that you understand how that works. Going to my next slide. Where do we get the leads? There's a lot of things, a lot of ways that you can get leads. Your personal contacts. Who do you know? What organizations? Just like anything else. Old team members. For those of you that have been for a while, the one that I have currently going on right now, I was referred to at this gymnastics studio by an old team member who knew about our Cards for a Cause. But the other thing is when you're out doing parties, as long as you're talking about the cards and telling about them, then those people can lead you to organizations. So that's another way. The other thing is, where do you get leads? School organizations. These are different ways that you can serve. One of the things I do in all of my school visits, and I can't find it right now. Here it is. Yes. I wish I could see myself. It's kind of weird. I guess I'm sharing the screen. I can't. So anyway, I always go over this with most of my school visits. And I just said, these are all the services that we provide. Which one's going to work best for you? And then they just pick one. And when they pick one, it might be Cards for Cause. So that's just kind of an idea that I present. And I think that I've gotten a lot of my Cards for Cause that way too. Cold calls is another thing that you can do, but it is very important that you follow up, just like anything else. You're going to call these organizations. You're going to get told no and a lot. And that's just part of the problem. Part of the problem is you're going to get told a lot, but you have to get used to hearing it. But the following up thing, I think, is the most important thing. I want to tell you a story real quickly about one of my team members, Christy, who's doing a Cards for a Cause right now at a private school here in Houston. And kind of what started is I initially plant the seed for that Cards for a Cause. Because you remember when the tornadoes were going on in Oklahoma, which is what, 3 years ago? That was one of my very first Cards for a Cause. And I actually sold that contact her very first box of cards. And we, sent the money to Oklahoma and stuff like that. But what happened is, I don't get their information, when I'm selling their box of cards or whatever. I'm not getting their information. But anyway, so she knew it was a fundraiser. So she's wanting to do it for a long time and just had to find the right person. And she ended up running into one of my team members, Christy, and is able to do it. So that's one thing that's really neat about it. Anyone can do it. Anyone that needs money right now can do it. It doesn't really matter. We've had people in the company that have done it for adoption, to raise money to adopt a child, MOPS groups. People have done it for Race for a Cure. Just lots of different things to get you kind of thinking about what you can do. And then, how do you make your fundraiser a success? One of the first things I think you have to remember, which has exactly happened to me, and it's going to happen just like parties, everything else. You sometimes have to fail before you get success. And years ago, myself and another one of my team members, we were doing a Cards for a Cause at this big private school, and we did it, and it flopped. And we had to figure out, well, they did a purchase order, we have all these boxes of cards, what are we going to do? Well, it was really bothering me a lot. I said, why did it fail? So I went back and invested in training in the back office. And I listened to all of those trainings over and over again. And then I figured out, we didn't do this, we didn't do this. And one of the things that we found, you think, oh, you can set up the cards when a book fair is going on, because then they'll sell the cards at the book fair at the same time. But we did not realize they don't sell the cards at the book fair because it's too confusing. There's too many choices. So it's not like you thought it was. I mean, there's just so many different things. This one school thought that they can just send out a flyer and a sample card and all these orders will keep coming in. And we found that's not usually what happens. So there's different things like that. So when you fail, know that you're going to learn a lot. But if you invest in training, that's going to help you. Because just like hostess coaching, you have to you have to coach your organizational person, the person that's putting it on. You have to coach them. You have to let them know what is going to be a success and what isn't. And currently right now, I'm doing one with a gymnastics studio that it's been phenomenal. Almost $17,000 in sales. They've sold 540 boxes. So, but one of the reasons when I first talked to them about how they were going to do it, I talked to them again about the importance of having the boxes on hand to sell. And they have to see the whole box. And they have to see what a great deal it is and how important that is. So you have to really let your hostess know, not your hostess, but your organizer know what to do. And how much money do they need? So if you need to be able to back it out, just like you do with the hostess. If they need this amount of money in order to buy these many very first reading sets, then how many boxes of cards does that mean? That kind of thing, and backing it out. Really quickly, also, you need to know where the forms on the organizer packets are. I was going to show you, and let me see if I can do this. I don't know if I can do this quickly or not. The one thing I like about Zoom is because I'm a big visual, and I think it's important to be able to show people, especially brand new people, if you do not know where to go to get stuff. This is where the Cards for Calls information is. Once you log into your back office, let me know. Hopefully y'all can still see this. When you're you're going into your back office, and then you're going to the house, just like this. And then, believe it or not, it's on your dashboard. There's a lot of information right there about Cards for Calls. When you go to your dashboard, no, I'm sorry. That's not Consultant Toolbox. You can tell I'm a little nervous, right? You go to Consultant Toolbox, which is right there. So, and then you find out the cards for calls. There's a bunch of the flyers. Everything you need is right there. You don't have to recreate anything. It's right there. And then last but not least, you need to go find out where the trainings are and go to the trainings and listen to the trainings too. So let me see if I can get you back out of here. Come on, computer, and back into my PowerPoint. You have to learn how to use the website, the Cards for Cause fundraiser, with your consultant ID after it. You can give them initial information that way. But the most important thing, again, I say, you have to get the boxes of cards in their hands as quick as possible. As soon as they see these cards, they'll just be totally amazed. But they can look at the website all they want, but it's the same thing as the books. It's not going to work unless you do that. And sometimes what I've done, if I can't meet with them personally, is I'll drop off the box of cards and then come back later and pick it up if they're going to a board meeting or something like that. That's one of the ways that I will do that. So, did I get up? Yep. So I got all of my points that I wanted to show you about Cards for Calls. Oh, last but not least. Wait, no, I've still got one more slide somewhere on here. Did it disappear? Ah, okay. This is an important part. What I have found, if you listen to the training, it'll tell you a 2-week training. And it might go 2 weeks and they might get handled in 2 weeks. But this is what I've figured out. I think it's important in the first week, whether it's the school, organization, or whatever, they need to do a blast, and they need to sell as many boxes like this as they can to their initial parents. And that's what the gymnastics studio did. They had a whole week where they set up at the gym, and they sold as many boxes that they could to everybody there. And then the second week, they gave them order forms. And then they took their box and they went to their neighbor and their aunt and their uncle and all that. And they went and they got orders. And then rather than waiting for 2 weeks for it to come back, waiting for 2 weeks for them to turn the orders in, they did a turnaround every week. Like every Thursday they had to turn in money. So they would bring their order form, and then they would bring in their all of the orders that they got. They turn in all of their money, and then they would fulfill their orders right there. Those people would take the boxes back, deliver them, and guess what happened? It was really cool. Once they saw, oh, how cool the boxes were, again, a lot of times what they were finding is people wanted more boxes. They didn't just want the birthday box that they ordered. They didn't just want the thanks and blanks. They also wanted the other ones. So they could turn in another order the next week, and so forth. So that's kind of how it was working. So that's one of the important things, is to have a turn in throughout the time where they can turn it in. And you can have prizes. When I coach different schools about doing it, they could offer free tuition. They can go to a massage place, and they could offer a massage gift certificate for the parent that sells the most. And they can usually get those certificates donated for the school. And then if they've done an auction, and you know how sometimes gift cards and things like that don't get sold at the auction, they can use those as prizes, lots of different things. But I think it's also important when they have their goal. The gymnastics studio, they had their goal of how many boxes they wanted to sell. And initially it was 500, which you know they've gone over that. But they have their goal, and they have a thermometer up, and they have these turn-ins each week so people can kind of know how they're doing along the way. And then last but not least is to celebrate the money you earned. And I think one of the most important things when you're pitching a Cards for Cause to the organization is to paint a picture of what could happen. You know, if you sell 540 boxes, you know, you're going to get $7,000 in cash. You're not just going to get $13 a box. There's a big difference between $13 a box and $7,000 in cash. So you kind of have to find out what their goal is. The one at Holy Spirit has a goal of $4,000 in cash. So we had to figure out how much in boxes that meant that they needed to sell. Same thing with the Literacy for Lifetime, the one that I have going on right now that's going to be raising money for this place, this Uganda, this academy, this school in Uganda. They have 100 boxes. Their goal is 100 boxes. that means $2,000 in books with the Literacy for Lifetime grant. And they're trying to get 30 sets of the very first reading series. So we can tell people all about that. So those are the pictures and the stories. And even if you haven't had the personal success, you can tell people also about that. So anyway, now at this point, I don't even know where we're doing on time. I'm going to stop the share because I still can't see myself. How many more minutes do we have, Kathy? Do you know?
It looks, if you started right at noon, we're at 12:26. So we've got a few minutes for some questions if anybody has any.
Okay. I think we
I really like the way that you broke it down, or talked about their total that they want to earn, not just how much per box. I think that's really important.
Yeah. It's the same thing as hostess coaching, or the same thing that we do. It's just breaking it down for them. Anybody have questions? Anything they'd like to know?
How many total weeks was your gymnastics school doing it? Was that a 3-week span, or was that more?
I think that they've started it. It's on their 3rd week right now. With the shipping issues, it took them a little longer to get the boxes than we were anticipating. So I think they're going to extend it. But yeah, they're on their 3rd week right now.
How many did they order initially?
Initially, they ordered 250.
Wow.
And that's the other thing that I learned in this process, again, even with this big one. If they order 250, it'll come on a pallet. The truck has to ship it off. But it was easier to transport them, and it was easier because there's 10 boxes of cards per box, as opposed to ours where there's only 5. So transportation is always an issue too, especially in this situation. She didn't want to have them shipped to the gym because she would be personally responsible for them. So we have to figure out that little catch. So those are just the things that we've learned. We also think that with shipping, if it's a pallet, it'll come faster. So if you really need it to come faster, then they don't have to package it. It's already there, ready to go at 250. That's the other thing that we learned.
So home office can just put a pallet on the truck instead of having to open up a pallet full of stuff and box it up again and then repackage it to send it out.
Right.
That makes sense.
The other thing that we learned.
Is it all one type of box, though, if you get a pallet?
It's a box that has 10 boxes in it. So if you can see me, it'll be like 10 boxes lined up straight in a row, long boxes.
But is it a combination of the all occasion, the children's, and the thanks and blanks, or is it all one?
It's all one.
Okay.
I guess maybe it would be all thanks and blanks in 10 boxes, all cards in 10 boxes, and so forth.
Okay.
Maybe there was a few extras and they had to switch them real quick, but it didn't take it. We got the pallet really, really quickly when we did it. So those are just things that we figured out along the way. But it's been fun. It's been really fun. And they've done really well. They have organized, just like a book fair, they had volunteers selling them at the gymnasium and stuff like that.
So Janice, your groups, it sounds like they're pre-ordering a certain amount to sell on the spot, and then they also are taking orders. Am I understanding that right?
Right.
Okay.
The first week they're selling as many as they can that first week, and then those people will hopefully go and take orders.
Okay.
At the gymnastics studio they have 100 athletes, competitive athletes, but they're also selling to the regular gymnasium. But it's those 100 competitive athletes that are taking orders, I believe, not the regular parents.
And did you guys offer any incentives for the kid who sells the most or any of that?
At the gymnastics thing, they did not want to do that.
Okay.
They felt very strongly against it. I've done it with other schools, but they felt strongly against it, so they haven't done that. Okay. Anything else? It did have a little pop-up box. We may get cut off. It said about 3 minutes ago we were about going to get. It said we had about 10 minutes, so we probably have about 5 minutes now.
I've got a countdown. There's a counter on my screen. It says we have 8 minutes.
8 minutes. Okay. So if anybody else has any other, but I did it the same way at a special needs school where they sold the boxes for a week at the office to all of the parents, and they sent home sample cards, but I don't think they didn't get a lot of orders from the sample cards that they sent home. Oh, and that's the other thing. If an organization does want to send home sample cards with the order form per student, then what they do is they pay $17 a box for each. It's an expense that they have. It does not come out of your commission. So the organization needs to know that if that's how they choose to do it. So if you have 100 kids, that's 3 boxes. That's an expense take from their fundraising. So don't come out. That. But anyway, yay! So y'all let me know if you've got any other questions. But thanks for being here, and it's been fun.
I do have one more question for you.
Okay.
Do you have, I know that some people use the book fair agreement that's on the Reading is a Gift website. Do you have an agreement that you have written up with the?
I actually do not, and that actually goes on to if they do the purchase order, I feel like they're pretty obligated. They're going to do it because they're doing the purchase order, and it's not me. But you can consign cards or calls if they're completely hesitant of doing that, the purchase order. But I would probably get them to do a contract or something if you end up consigning that. The one for Uganda, the orphanage, I'm consigning those just because it's my church and I'm personally involved. And it doesn't, to me. I mean, I always tell the schools too, if in the event, like what happened when we failed before, what we did is we had to take some of those cards that weren't sold at that one school, find another school that wanted them, and then we transported the cards over there, and then we ended up paying off the school. So there's a ways you can get around it if you have something that doesn't go as well as you need it. And home office will work with you on that. Sound good?
Thanks, Janice. That gave me a lot of good, like the hostess coaching or the organization coaching, but the idea to have them do that type of selling the first week and then do the orders. I like that.
Yeah.
I just feel like they really need to have the box. And then if they're going to go sell to their neighbors' friends, they need to at least have one box. And when they do that, they're going to get good results. So y'all have a good day. Enjoy.
All right. Thanks, Janice.
I'm going to stop the recording now.